It's time for a new edition of Phillies Talk Podcast with Rich Baxter and Matt Veasey. This week's show, we're talking about opening day 2023 and how the Phillies are faring so far. Sit back, relax, open a beverage, and listen to the show. And welcome aboard to this week's Phillies Talk Podcast. It's the weekly talk show based on those Philadelphia Phillies. My name is Rich Baxter, and I'm joined with my longtime co-host here, Mr. Matt Veasey. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing really good on this Sunday afternoon, Rich. A lot better than our fighting Phils are doing right now.
Yeah. It's I'm glad they're opening away when we see this kind of play from them down in Texas. Opening day 2023. I was real pumped up for it, excited. There was a record number of viewers on MLB.TV. I had the stats in front of me earlier. I remember 172 million minutes were watched on opening day. That's a lot of minutes.
Sure are. Everybody played on opening day. I think this was the first time in many years that they had all the Major League Baseball teams able to actually play on opening day. They had this scheduled to happen, I believe, in 2018 or 2019, but there was a game that was rained out, I believe, that day. And then it was supposed to happen again in 2020, but then COVID struck. So this is the first time that they had every team open on opening day. The shame of it was that the next day, on Friday, they only had 5 games scheduled. And Major League Baseball, I think, lost a real opportunity there in that they should have staggered. Most of them were late games, and they should have staggered them throughout the day. And that way there would have been constant baseball on the second day. But they didn't do that. And, maybe they learned something from this. So we'll see.
Yeah, it always seems to me that MLB just doesn't get it when it comes to promotions and, I guess they just assume that it should take its own life with different markets and stuff like that. But like you said, there should have been some even fun events planned around it. I'm not sure at this time. I can't say exactly what kind of events, but sort of like a NFL kickoff. There's some hoopla around it, and there was a little hoopla around this year's opening day. And as you said, all 30 teams took place. But there's one example right there. Stagger the opening of each team. Let it be promoted around the clock, so to speak. But, we got to take what we can get, and maybe it's weather related, things like that. We certainly had some rough weather last night in the Philadelphia area. Just thank goodness we didn't open the season in Philly this year.
Yeah, no, I think they did a good job with the opening day itself, Rich. Like you said, every team played on Thursday, and if you're a legitimate baseball fan, you could have found plenty of pregame stuff, and all you had to do was watch MLB Network all day, and they had fantastic coverage of opening day, going around the different ballparks. The MLB has a free preview going on of their being able to watch every game on their pay service. So, there's plenty of opportunity for people to enjoy opening day. My problem was with the next day, with Friday, where they, like I said, only had 5 games, and they shoved almost all of them into the night. So there was this Friday could have been a continuation. They could have built off of opening day. And Friday they could have had a whole a 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock start, one of the games, and another one at 3, another one at 6, and then a couple maybe at 9 or something like that. But I think that Friday game day was a missed opportunity. But opening day, I think they did a really nice job. And every ballpark, every team that is hosting an opener has some type of big ceremony. There were fantastic ceremonies around baseball from what I heard, and I believe Milwaukee had a fantastic ceremony. There just were a number of them around the game.
Yeah, and this was the 141st season for the Philadelphia Phillies, the longest running a single named team in baseball, I believe is what they were saying. The oldest continuous one nickname, one city franchise in all of professional sports. That's what the Phillies are. So, you know, people can make fun of them, how much they've lost, things like that. The fans, we always hear how, people from out of town will rag on Philadelphia fans, but we're the oldest continuous one nickname, one city franchise in all of professional sports. So there's no other team that can stake that claim. We saw Aaron Nola pitch his sixth consecutive opening day chore for the Phillies. Didn't get the win. He didn't get the loss either. But I was just excited to see the game. I actually called in the next day. I was on my way to my regular job, and I called in MLB Network Radio and spoke to them for just a brief minute or two at most. And the way I was talking, Steve Phillips actually said to me, "Are you sure you're a Phillies fan? Because the way you're talking, you weren't upset about last night." And I wasn't upset about opening day. They're back on the diamond, and we can't put too much credence into the first few games of the season.
No, Rich, but it is concerning that they gave up, all these runs the first two games. Rob Thompson has had to go to his bullpen early. The Phillies were throwing their two co-aces, Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. And combined over these first two games, Nola and Wheeler only lasted 8 innings combined. They allowed 11 hits, 10 runs, 9 of those earned. They had a nice 11-3 strikeout to walk ratio, but I mean they're generally good strikeout control guys, and that part of their game did show. But they got hit. They got hit hard. It all went downhill for Nola. I mean, his first 3 innings, he was moving along. Things were going fantastic. 3 shutout innings. He only allowed 1 hit. The Phillies had a 5-0 lead. Everything looked great. It looked like they were having a party over there in the dugout. It looked like here we go. With the beautiful 2023, and then it all just caved in, and then the bullpen came in and except for a couple of guys, it was like, throwing gasoline and then lighting a match. The Phillies bullpen, Rich, the starters I mentioned lasted 8 innings. The Phillies bullpen the last 2 days, the first two games, has had to go 8 innings themselves. That includes, and that's 10 relief pitchers, Rich, and that's 10 different guys. Right? Nobody pitched twice. So yeah. Thompson's had, and that includes an appearance yesterday by Josh Harrison, a 35-year-old utility infielder. In those 8 innings, they've given up 16 hits, Rich, 17 runs, 14 of them earned, 9 walks. So that is really concerning. This, to me, coming into the season, I was really excited about their bullpen. I thought their bullpen was going to be a strength of the team. And I was particularly interested in, say, a guy like Sir Anthony Dominguez. I thought, with a full year health, a full spring training under his belt, and then he just got clobbered. So, like you said, it's too early to panic. You can't read a lot into this, but it's a terrible start, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth until you finally get the win and maybe string a few of them together.
Yeah, and we hope to do that starting tonight. The first Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN features the Phillies, and it would have to be, don't you think, the narrative could have been how great the Phillies are. You have the National League Championship Phillies at Texas tonight, but what we're going to see on this broadcast is how woeful the Phillies are, just what you said, how bad they've been the first two games. And unfortunately, that's going to be the narrative coming out of ESPN. But we'll have to watch it and see how they portray the Phillies tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Texas time. But also, there's going to be the K-Rod broadcast, the simulcast, so to speak, on ESPN2. I'll probably record that. I don't think I want to watch it during the game because it's a lot of gobbledygook, but Did you catch much of that last year, the K-Rod cast?
No, I really didn't have any interest, Rich. I I don't know where to go with this. I'm not overly impressed with a lot of the national broadcasters, so unless I can catch it with the local broadcasters, I just deal with whoever the normal national broadcaster. I saw it a little bit, but it just couldn't hold my interest. So, A-Rod, it's no big. A-Rod doesn't do anything for me. A-Rod.
Yeah. I liked it during the World Series last year in the playoffs for the Phillies, when they had that Fox booth out there and left center field there all set up. It was cool to see, the production, and you were almost like behind the production because the stage was facing the crowd there. But it's really great the way they put those broadcasts together. So, I'll probably check out that a little bit. But I'm sort of with you. I don't care for it most of the time. It's just that the Phillies are on it tonight, and I'd like to
Sure.
see what A-Rod has to say. After the first game, I was a bit ragging on Soto a little bit, and as you said, the whole bullpen's been crap, so to speak. If you want to pick an adjective or a
It's a good
noun,
one,
whatever
Rich.
that is.
That's a good adjective so far,
And
anyway.
you know, so on Twitter I was very, down upon him, and then I kind of got out of that because, it's one game, it's one appearance, and it's two games for the Phillies. So, we've seen this all season long last year. Just hopefully they can recover from this. Um, Ruben Amaro even got into the mix, because we went back and forth on Soto a little bit. He got into the mix and sort of texted me or tweeted me, I guess you could say, and Soto will be fine, he said. So I was like, yeah, I guess he will be fine. So that was reassuring, but we'll see what goes on tonight. I don't know if we can even say the Phillies need a win, but for their morale to head into New York for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I think that would be awesome. I think they need a win tonight. I don't know if you can say need, quote unquote, like the playoffs, but for just morale's purposes, I hope they win tonight.
Sure. Well, with 160 games left, Rich, we're far from the must-win stage at this point. But and they have a tough chore ahead of them because they're facing a tough lefty tonight. Martin Perez is a really nice pitcher, southpaw for the Texas Rangers on the mound. The Phillies have Bailey Falter going, who is, coming into the season. Bailey Falter was projected to be their sixth starter. Now they're down a couple because Ranger Suarez is out. Andrew Painter went down early in spring training. So, Bailey Falter's back in the rotation. I like some of the things Bailey Falter did last year, but he faltered on occasion.
He did.
Of course, he's a young guy. He's a rookie. He doesn't have ace stuff. He's a number 4 or 5. So he's a back end starter in Major League Baseball at the best.
Hmm.
They're kind of calling on him to be a little bit, they're going to have to get quality innings from Bailey Falter, at least for the first few weeks here this season. So, and possibly longer. So tonight I think what's important for me tonight is to see the Phillies pitching, hold Texas down a little bit. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, all the runs that they've given up the first couple of games.
Yeah, it's been a ton of runs. As you said, the bullpen just collapsed. It didn't exist. You might as well just have thrown underhand to these Texas Rangers with the 16-3 score in Game 2. Um, Embarrassing, but as we know that, today's a new day. Hopefully, in Game 1, the bats weren't a problem at all.
And he had 12
Offense,
hits, Rich. 7 runs, 12 hits that first game.
yeah, the offense was churning. We've seen this from Aaron Nola a lot at certain times usually towards the end of the season, most of the time, where he's out of gas, and he gives up that long ball. So we saw it again, and it just came back to haunt him. He was pitching a great game, got into trouble, and then gave up a 3-run bomb and just totally obliterated his whole great performance up to that point. And we've seen that a few times from him now. He's going for a contract this year. I hope he can improve on that because he's going to get paid, whether it be from the Phillies or someone else. He's going to make that money, but I just don't like to see him get hit like that.
Oh, well, we didn't like to see anybody get hit like that. And I didn't like to see Zach Wheeler get hit like he did yesterday. And like you said, it's not, Aaron, this isn't an Aaron Nola thing. He, pooped the bed, so to speak, but then so did Wheeler yesterday. Um, this young kid that they like, Marte, came out of the bullpen and followed Wheeler yesterday and gave up a couple of big hits. Sir Anthony Dominguez yesterday, did he get anybody out? I mean, I don't think he did. 3 hits, 4 earned runs, 6 runs, a walk. I don't think he got anybody out. Craig Kimbrell, one of the best veteran relievers of the last, at least decade. He's a potential Hall of Famer, Rich. Now, they
Yeah.
signed him, granted, to be a veteran, come in, not necessarily be, the elite closer Craig Kimbrell that we've seen in past years, but they
Hmm.
expected him to be a good, solid righty reliever out of the bullpen. He comes in yesterday, a third of an inning, gives up 3 runs, walks 2 guys, gives up a hit. Go back to the Nola's game, like the guy you mentioned, Gregory Soto, an all-star the last couple of years in Detroit. All of his numbers in Detroit are pretty good, except he comes in here, with the Phillies. He gets in here late because he's got visa issues. So
Hmm.
he's probably a couple of weeks behind everybody else anyway from spring training. So Thompson throws him right in there, and he didn't. He also did. I don't think got anybody out. 2 hits he allowed, 4 runs, 3 of them earned, 2 walks. Connor Brogdon comes in, a guy who I really liked coming into this season. He follows Soto, gives up 3 hits, 2 earned runs.
They met up
So
with the Gas House gang.
I know it's
Yeah,
just
like
like,
I mean,
and these are guys are counting on. I mean, Soto, Brogdon, Dominguez, and Kimbrel. They're 4 guys that they are really counting on in that bullpen. The
top
one guy
rated,
that I really
top
liked,
rated guys. Yep.
yeah, Jose Alvarado looked really good yesterday. Came in, through 1 inning, gave up a hit, but struck out 2 guys and looked pretty nasty, which is kind of how he was last year. After maybe at some point in June, it all clicked in for Alvarado, and he's been like lights out ever since then. Andrew Bellotti looked pretty good yesterday, but for the most part, we have to see a lot better performances out of this bullpen.
Yes, we do. The narrative on MLB.com this afternoon is Phillies pitching confident they can figure it out. The good news, it's only 2 games, they say. The bad news is the Phillies pitching staff is off to its worst 2-game start in nearly a century. So that was how the MLB.com narrative was painting this picture. Rob Thompson says, quote, "It's not what we were expecting for sure," unquote. And then again, we've got to just clean it up. Of course, yeah, we've got to clean it up, and hopefully it's tonight down in Texas. I can't wait for opening day in Philly on Thursday, April 6th at 3:05. We're going to see the NL champion Philadelphia Phillies return to the field. Always a special time. Are you going to make the game this year?
You're talking about opening day?
Yes.
Yeah. My brother and I are going down. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it on Thursday. And now I think the one thing that we're not looking forward to is possibly the weather. I think that
Yeah.
the weather that I was looking at was not going to be, at least this far out. It's not that great a forecast, but we'll see. You never know this far out.
Yeah, I did.
Thunderstorms, 75%
Oh,
chance of rain on Thursday. So
oh gosh. So it's actually gotten worse since I looked at it a day or two ago. It was around, 40%, I think, chance of showers, but didn't mention that thunderstorm name. But
isolated thunderstorms in the morning, mainly cloudy afternoon with thunderstorms likely. Chance of rain 80%, they're saying now. So
oh, okay. Chance of showers, then showers likely. Wow. So if you have tickets, I can't stand the forecast like that. I hope it changes a little bit.
And you know what,
Um,
Rich? You hope that if it is a bad day Thursday, just call the game like early because that's why
yeah,
they did this.
don't,
They have that Friday off, the next day off,
yeah,
just in case of weather like this. And that Philly weather on the Philly weather on Friday is supposed to be fine, from what I
partly
understand. So
sunny, yeah,
yeah,
near high of 60. So yeah, it's going to be warmer on Thursday, 77. But we'll see as the days trudge on towards opening day. And like you said, nobody likes to make the trip, get all the way to the ballpark, park, maybe even go in and then have them call the game. So we'll see what happens, and especially if you're far away. I'm in about an hour's drive from the stadium, and you may even be too with traffic on certain days. But
yeah, well, for me going, I got to go over, pick up my brother, then we go down to the ballpark. We're from
yeah,
the farthest end of Northeast Philly all the way up to down to South Philly fighting 95 traffic.
yeah,
So normally, it might be a 25-minute run, but you can never do that down 95. So, the whole trip between me picking him up and then going down there, it's, good 45-minute trip. So,
yeah, it's going to be interesting. The weather, we never think about that when we order the tickets, of course. Like, oh, weather. But it was interesting. I was listening to one of the games on the radio, MLB network radio, or one of the broadcasts, the individual games, and one of the broadcasters was saying, "Oh, well, this weekend will be the first opportunity for us to have a game with weather, quote unquote." Those poor people have to live with it all season long because they have to get to the ballpark every game. But um, it's like that for fans too. So hopefully, if there's a lot of rain in the forecast for Thursday, opening day, that, like you said, Matt, they do the right thing, quote unquote, and push it to Friday, because that would be the right thing to do.
yeah, and the Phillies have a really nice weekend, I think, opening weekend planned. They're playing the Cincinnati Reds. They have the opening day, whenever we get it in, Thursday or Friday, they'll be lifting that 2022 National League Champions pennant, which will be very nice to see and applaud. On
Yes.
Saturday, they have I think it's McDonald's has an opening night T-shirt that they're
Yeah.
giving away, and it's also Autism Awareness Day.
Uh,
My young grandson is autistic, and it's nice to see the Phillies recognize that every year with a theme night ticket. And then on Sunday, they have the NL Champions ring ceremony on Sunday afternoon. So I'll be
yes.
checking that out on
Easter
TV.
Sunday, no
Easter
less.
Sunday, that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be
Next,
nice.
and right after that, the Tuesday, the Marlins come in. They got the first Dollar Dog night. So, so if you're a Dollar Doggy guy
And if you're a
or gal,
vegetarian this year at the ballpark, now I'm not quite a vegetarian, Matt and listeners, but I'm close. Um, in the sense that I'm not eating certain foods. So there's going to be a new store food establishment opening up in Citizens Bank Park. I just learned about it a week ago. It's from down at the shore down here. It's a place called Greens and Grains,
hmm,
and they're focused on vegan offerings. Um, they may have a chicken dish that they're offering. I'm not sure. I haven't seen their menu for Citizens Bank Park, but you're going to have some healthy meals there. So that was my one complaint last year when I went to the ballpark, because I stopped eating the cheesesteaks. I stopped eating the hot dogs, the rolls. I couldn't find much to eat, and I had to bring my own stuff a lot of times. I was packing a salad in one of my lunch containers to bring to the ballpark. So even though it was good, I would have liked to have just purchased something there rather than carrying something around. So this year I will check out Greens and Grains at the ballpark. And of course, there's a ton of other places that are going to be open as well. So we'll be talking about them after opening day when we go there.
yeah, it's going to be a little tough for me food wise opening day too, Rich, because we're still in Lent technically.
Yes.
And for Lent, I gave up bread and bread products. So there goes
Ah, glad to hear it.
sandwiches. There goes rolls, sandwiches.
Once you
My
do that,
my
keep
bowl's
it
pulled
up.
pork. Well, I won't
Once,
be Rich, but I gave it up for Lent, so I can't have it on Thursday.
yeah.
So But I will. I'll be a couple of weeks later. I'm going down to see them play the Mariners. I want to see that Julio Rodriguez kid and a couple of the other guys
Uh,
they have,
uh,
and I will be enjoying Bull's pulled pork at the
okay,
end of
awesome.
April down there at some point with a nice cold brew.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was walking past White House Subs today. If anybody knows that place in Atlantic City, the smell was absolutely killing me. The onions and the cheesesteak smells. If you've ever been down there, um, I couldn't go there. Now, normally there was not a line there, hardly anybody there today for some reason. I guess maybe the Easter Palm Sunday had something to do with it. I don't know. But I would normally pack into there, get a cheesesteak or something, but I don't eat that stuff anymore. So it was torture, but at the ballpark this year, there'll be some great eats, some fun times, I'm sure, and we'll be talking about that on our next podcast. But Matt, what do you see for the next week or so from the Phillies? Do they pull out of this little stumble start that they're having? And we have seen them have it before this way.
I don't know, Rich. Is that a non-committal answer? I don't know. I would have never predicted this first two games kind of start. I mean, I could have seen that they could have lost the first two games, but the way that they've lost, how ugly it's been, pitching wise, like you said, the offense hasn't necessarily been bad, um, but they kind of got snowballed in the opener when they gave up the 9 runs and got behind, went from 5-0. In the beginning, it was great,
Uh-huh.
but then when they got behind 9-5, it seemed like the offense sputtered. They didn't really have much of a chance to catch up. Didn't really do anything to really catch up. And
Right.
then yesterday, they just got you what do you
Crushed.
want to say? Crushed. Yeah, they
Yeah.
never really had a chance early on. They had a couple of opportunities and they got Bucknered. And we didn't really talk about CB Buckner and his just absolutely atrocious ball strike calls. And
Uh-huh.
and if I want to be fair, Rich, CB Buckner for the most part got most of the balls and strikes right. But
Hmm.
at pivotal points and pivotal at bats, he consistently, uh, you know, I, I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose, but it almost looked like he was screwing the Phillies over. Like he called Phillies out on strikes or called strikes and put Phillies batters into holes at crucial times when they did have it, when they were still in the game. Um, so I think Buckner really had that was home plate umpire CB Buckner. He really did have an effect on the outcome of yesterday's game in that he just killed any kind of momentum that the Phillies would try to or potentially had putting together in the first part of that game when it was still a contest. Then it just got out of hand and snowballed, and really what's going to happen over the next week, Rich? Bailey Falter goes tonight. That's key. We get Taiwan Walker's first start as a Philly at Yankee Stadium. That'll be important to see. Then what's he going to do with the fifth starter role? I mean, is it going to be Matt Stram and then a bullpen game? And we get Nola and Wheeler back for the end of the Yankee series and the home opener. So we need better outings from Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler. That's a given. And a couple of these other back end starting pitcher guys and the bullpen have to step up. And assuming they do, I'm confident in this offense. So and that's going to be the case if a week from now they were 0-5. I'm going to say the same thing. They won't be 0-5 a week from now, but they might be 0-7. God forbid. But
Yeah.
but I'd rather they be a week from now. I'd rather be like 3-4 rather than 1-6. So
Yeah.
let's hope the pitching gets itself squared away. We get a couple of more even performances, and then I think the offense will produce enough to give us some wins.
Yes. Hope springs eternal. The Phillies don't have any easier time when they move on to New York, going up to the Bronx to meet the Yankees in the second series of 2023, three-game series, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoon, which is a 105 start up there. I wonder how many ardent Phillies fans will make that trip up there to the Bronx. Plenty of tickets available up there. They even have a standing room only ticket that they call the Pinstripe Pass up there for $25. So, Phillies fans, if you're listening to this, Wednesday up in New York, 1:05 p.m. If you can make the trip, go up and support your team. And as Matt said, Bailey Falter gets the start tonight. And last year down the stretch, he came through for the Phillies a little bit. So maybe he'll find that again tonight for the Phils and help them right the ship, so to speak, get a win on the board, and just escape out of Texas, which they normally don't play well. I think they've lost 11 straight to the Texas Rangers for whatever reason. Um, so tonight is another game, and hopefully, as you said, Matt, they'll do well.
Yeah, it is a kind of a crazy, fluky thing, Rich, that they've lost all. They don't. Previous to this, they didn't play the Texas Rangers all that often.
Yeah,
Every few years, they would play the AL West teams. Now they'll play every team every year. So we'll have a chance to revisit this streak if it should continue after tonight. But yeah, 11 straight against the Texas Rangers over a certain period of years spread out. But a
yeah,
crazy little streak there.
yeah. I still say, regional matchups are king in my eyes, but I guess baseball wants to spread it around, let some teams go beyond what they used to with just the interleague play now, as you said, playing every team each year. So no team will be left unturned, so to speak. But Phillies with game 3 tonight, Sunday night. Our next podcast, we'll be talking about how they did it on the home opener. So, Matt, you enjoy the game for the Phillies home opener Thursday, April 6th. We'll talk after that, probably next week at some point, and enjoy that game.
Certainly, let's hope for a W.
Yes, indeed. Well, take care, everyone. We'll talk to you on the next Phillies Talk podcast.
And don't forget to follow at Phillies Bell on Twitter. At Phillies Bell on Twitter. That's where you can find me every day.
Yes, indeed. And at Fightin' Phillies for me, and the website, of course, fightinphillies.com. So we'll have some guests on throughout the year and talk some more Phillies baseball with you, everyone. Take care.